In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a front wheel bearing on your Toyota Tacoma. This will be located behind the front wheel. Let's get started. Using a 21mm socket, remove the 6 lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the ABS bracket. Using a 12mm socket, remove the bolt for the brake line bracket. Pop that off the knuckle. Try not to bend this metal line. Remove the plastic stay for the ABS wire. There's a tab on top and bottom. I'm going to use a flat blade screwdriver. Push on these tabs. You could also use your fingers. Remove the plastic stay. Using a 17mm socket, remove the caliper bolts. Remove the bolts. Don't let go of the caliper. We're going to use a hook. Hook it to our caliper and hang this so there's no weight hanging on our brake hose. Remove the rotor. Using a screwdriver or a flat chisel and a hammer, remove the dust cap. We're going to get right in the side of it. Give it a few taps. Keep going around doing this. Remove the dust cap. Bend the cotter pin straight. Remove the adjust lock cap. Using a 35mm socket, remove the axle nut. Be sure your axle moves freely in the hub. If it does not, use a punch and a hammer and punch it through. We're going to install the axle nut, just a few threads until this is flush with the axle. Using a soft face hammer, we're going to hit the axle trying to free up the splines in the hub. Once you've gotten the axle pushed in, you can remove the axle nut. Sure the axle moves freely. We're going to use a 17mm wrench and remove our wheel bearing bolts. I'm going to use a wrench and a hammer. I'm going to hit the end of the hammer. Go around and do this for all of the bolts. We want them all loose. Go around and loosen all of the bolts. Spin them out as far as you can. You might not be able to get them fully out. That's okay right now. Usually at this point, you'll take a hammer and start hitting on the top and the bottom of this wheel bearing. You're going to want to get it to loosen up slightly. Ours, after loosening the bolts, is just nice and wiggly inside. So we're going to slightly pull it out and then finish off all of our bolts, removing them from the knuckle. Once you have all of the bolts fully unscrewed, you're going to push on the axle, pull on the wheel bearing, and remove the wheel bearing. Remove the backing plate. Using a light abrasive, we're going to clean this mating surface. You should put your backing plate on before installing the wheel bearing. The wheel bearing will go through the backing plate and then install your bolts. Our backing plate will not be put back on the car. Install the wheel bearing. Get the bolts started. Get all of these bolts as far as you can by hand. We're going to go around snugging these down with a 17mm wrench in a cross pattern, being sure that the bearing is seating square. Get all the bolts snugged down. Torque the wheel bearing hub bolts to 60 foot-pounds. If you can't get a torque wrench on it, do the best you can. Go in a cross pattern. Install the axle nut. Snug down the axle nut. Install the rotor. I'm going to use a lug nut to hold the rotor while we put on our brake caliper. Pull the caliper off of the hook, install it over the rotor. Install the bolts. Snug them down. Torque the caliper bolts to 91 foot-pounds. Remove your hook if you have it. Install the brake line bracket to the steering knuckle. Install the bolt. Snug it down. Install the ABS bracket onto the brake line bracket. Get the bolt started. Snug it down. Install the plastic stay into the bracket for the ABS wire. If you installed a lug nut to hold the rotor, remove it now. I'm going to install a large punch into the rotor and push this against the caliper. This is going to hold our hub while we torque the axle nut. Torque the axle nut to 203 foot-pounds. Remove the punch. Install the adjust lock cap. Be sure a slot lines up with the axle. Install a cotter pin. Bend the tabs out. Install the dust cap, tap it into place. Install the wheel. Get the lug nuts started. Snug down the lug nuts. Torque the wheels in a star pattern to 85 foot-pounds. We'll go around one more time. And you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.